Out of the night that covers me black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishment the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
Let us pray. Almighty God of our fathers and founders, we acknowledge with bold humility your excellent greatness as the supreme being. We thank you for being meticulously merciful and unnecessarily good. And we acknowledge that we, though wonderfully and beautifully made, have many times fallen short of your glory, and have often willfully done that which you have asked us not to do. So we ask now for your forgiveness. We are thankful now that amidst the ravages of this perplexing pandemic, the rising, sweltering heat of oppression and suppression, that we are still here. Since our founding as a college fraternity 5 generations ago, we have witnessed and struggled through many toils and snares. We've had many tears and sorrows. We fought in wars and marched throughout this country. We've been hosed and sprayed and unfairly detained and jailed, but we are still here. We have been segregated, isolated, ignored in history books, stereotyped in the media, and overlooked for benefits. Yet because of your love and mercy, we are still here. So we pause now to remember 4 real men who lived and worked in an era just like our times. 4 men of sterling character, 110 years ago presented and personally practiced 4 principles that would direct future Omega men through tumultuous political, social, and emotional waters. Yes, manhood, scholarship, perseverance, and uplift have made all real men truer to our causes. Thank you for the masterminds, the profundity, the dynamic activism of the founders of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Founder Ernest Everett Just, Founder Edgar Amos Love, Founder Oscar James Cooper, and Founder Frank Coleman. We ask now that you inoculate our nation against hate, sin, and despair, that you vaccinate us against social virus, violence, vitriol, and violations of human rights. Order our steps, steady our hands, steel our minds, stiffen our backs, straighten our eyes, and strengthen our resolve. We present these prayers in the name of that Alpha and Omega, that Negro from Nazareth named Jesus. Amen.
Greetings, my brothers. I'm Brother Carl A. Blunt. I had the privilege to serve as your 32nd First Vice Grand Bosselist, and I have the honor to speak to you today, November 17th, the day all Omega men celebrate as Founders Day. On this day, around the world, our basic history will be recited by thousands of sons of Omega. 110 years ago today, November 17, 1911, on the campus of Howard University, 3 undergraduate friends who were juniors, Oscar J. Cooper, Edgar A. Love, and Frank Coleman, with the help of their faculty advisor, Dr. Ernest E, brought into existence a powerful organization built on friendship, the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity. Over the years, men of Omega have recited that history and will continue to deliver it with reverence and pride until the day we say our last goodbye. But November 17th, 1911 is much more than a date that should just be circled on a calendar. A more studious approach will reveal the depth and gravity of the times and the courage of our founders. November 17th is the start of the holiday season, with Thanksgiving and Christmas being the apotheosis of friendship and family, a most appropriate time for Omega to emerge. However, less than 1 year later, on November 5th, 1912, black voters put Woodrow Wilson in office after he had courted them away from the Republican Party, pledging that it would be a better day for African Americans if he was elected as president. But in reality, Wilson's hand was barely off the Bible after taking the oath of office when he passed laws that took African Americans back decades. Lynchings increased, and blacks, along with their property, was systematically burned. When Woodrow Wilson arrived in the nation's capital as president, he brought with him an administration that attacked and halted the growth of the black middle class in D.C. Blacks were removed from political appointments that they had held for more than a generation. It was reported that the saying around the Wilson White House was that blacks belonged in the fields as opposed to in the hallways. He was clear in his feelings that blacks should not hold positions of authority in the Army, as evidenced by the well-known story of the forced retirement of our brother, Colonel Young. What is not commonly known is that before Wilson took office in 1912, every dollar printed by the Bureau of Engraving and Printing bore the signature of a black man who served as the Register of Treasury, Samuel Napier. Wilson wasted no time in removing him. In spite of the obvious life-threatening dangers of being black, our founders posed an additional threat by being educated as well. In establishing Omega Psi Phi, our young founders sought to confront and challenge the deep-seated hatred, anger, and hostility that was being inflicted upon our people at the time. Our drear history book tells us on page 11, the founders felt, quote, such an organization as Omega Psi Phi, created by Negroes in a Negro institution of higher learning, would cause a new awakening in Negro college life and blaze a trail for a common attack upon discrimination and injustices that are barriers to human progress, end quote. The disdain and constant specter of physical harm and death that loomed over any African American holding wealth, respect, or authority was an advertised reality in the days of the founding of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity. This, my brothers, is the hostile racial environment that was prevalent in and around D.C. when the founders chose to advance Omega Psi Phi Fraternity into society. This week, when the litany of our members is read, dig a little deeper into your district and chapter archives to invoke the names of those Omega men whose names may not be familiar, but have shown the courage that the founders displayed. Brothers like Homer G. Phillips, a civil rights attorney who was gunned down in the streets of St. Louis. Brother Aaron Doc Henry, who was chained to the back of a garbage truck and led through the streets of Clarksdale, Mississippi, but prevailed by being elected to the Mississippi State Legislature. Brother Z. Alexander Luby, Omega's 17th Grand Basilisk, whose home was firebombed in Nashville while he served as a city councilman. Brother Theodore Ted Poston, a journalist whose life was in constant danger, often being pursued and shot at repeatedly while reporting on civil rights issues in the South. Brother Bayard Rustin, a chief organizer of the March on Washington and the Freedom Rides, a co-founder of many civil rights organizations, and a main advisor to Martin Luther King and a confidant to A. Philip Randolph. And Brother Jesse Champion, Jr., a radio disc jockey in Birmingham who was forced to leave the city for his safety because he broadcast against white supremacy. So brothers, let's continue to live as men of like ideals and attainment and carry on the legacy of our forefathers and the cardinal principles they gave us. Remember, the next time we regale ourselves in paraphernalia, Omega is not what's on you, it's what's in you. Happy Founders Day, my brothers.
Listen up, bros. Our founders of Omega Psi Phi taught us 4 cardinal principles: manhood, scholarship, perseverance, and uplift. Manhood, our history tells us that brother Oscar James Cooper was guided in the discipline to become a sturdy man. He mastered the arts of being a fine gentleman. Cooper was neat and proper in his dress and distinctly chivalrous in his manner. And don't sleep, y'all. Brother Cooper was never flashy, but clearly My man had some swag. When you talk about scholarship, brother Frank Coleman had just that. He graduated from M Street School with high honors, graduated with great distinction from Howard University, and his record was so outstanding that immediately they made him an instructor in physics. Coleman would also answer the call to arms and fight in the First World War. After faithfully serving his tour, Coleman was honorably discharged and returned back to Howard University as a professor to exemplify the frat's second cardinal principle of scholarship. Perseverance, brother Edgar Amos Love defined that. He served as a chaplain in the 365th Infantry during World War I. He saw action in the Vasquez Mountains and in the Argonne Forest in France, spending not 1, not 2, but 8 days in the Great Offensive. During those campaigns, Brother Love was exhausted. However, he continued to inspire the 3,000 men he oversaw to live nobly as soldiers of the cross. To the men in his regiment, his very name inspired them to press on. And finally, Uplift. Dr. Ernest E. Just, Phi Beta Kappa, and a PhD. Brother Just earned so many honors, naming all of them, shoot, I'll need another hour. He collaborated with some of the best scientists in America and produced a standard work of cytology, which was published in 1924. Leading German biologists selected him as the best fitted among the world's scholars to write a paper on fertilization. He engaged in research at the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute in Germany for biology, at the private laboratories of the crowned heads of Europe, and received about $80,000 a year for research. Bruz, that's equal to $1.2 million today. I told you, Brother Just was that dude. So let me leave you with this, brothers. Since I crossed spring 2003 EII, I proudly rocked my pair and wore my Go boots right here and set out a hop on TV. But this year, we can learn something from our founders. Omega's not what's on you, it's what's in you. Happy Founders Day, brothers.
Good evening, Brother Grand Basileus Marion and my Omega brothers. I extend my congratulations to each of you on our 110th Omega anniversary. My name is Brother Charles E. Price, 552 Psi Psi, located at Kentucky State University. I have been a proud Omega man for 69 years. I am currently in Zeta Phi Chapter, located in the 10th District. My most memorable experience was witnessing both of my sons cross the bridges I built for them and others to enter Omega. Since being an Omega man, I have served as undergrad KRS, chapter chaplain in the 5th District, chairman talent hunt judge for the 5th District talent hunt, Zeta Phi Chapter talent hunt judge, member of several standing committees. The reason I joined the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity was I was influenced by the 4 cardinal principles of manhood, scholarship, perseverance, and uplift. It is my honor to stand in for founder Frank Coleman.
Brother Grand Basileus Marion and my Omega brothers, I extend my congratulations to each of you on the 110th Omega anniversary. My name is Thomas Gibson. I crossed at Lemoyne College, Psi Chapter. I've been an Omega man for 72 years. My current chapter is Tata Chapter. I was a founding member of Tata Chapter. My most memorable Omega experience is crossing the burning sands of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity. I've served on the city school board trustees. I served on the personnel commission for the city of of Compton, and also served 12 years on my college board of trustees at Lemoyne College. It is my honor to stand in for the founder, Oscar J. Cooper.
Good evening, Brother Grand Bosses Marion and my brothers in Omega. My name is Brother Dr. Adam E. McKee, Jr. Line number 1, 41351, Theta Sigma Chapter, Dillard University, New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm a proud member of Mu Chapter, part of 2nd District. I have had the honor and pleasure to serve on the Supreme Council as the 2nd District 16th District Representative, your Grand Keeper of Records and Seal, and the 29th First Vice Grand Bosses. As a proud Omega man for more than 70 years, I have shared many notable activities and events in the fraternity. One of my most notable events is chatting and talking with founder Edgar Amos Love. The wisdom displayed by Brother Love is still a major remembrance of me today. It is almost unreal to see in August 2012, I was Founder Love's son, John, sponsored for Omega Psi Phi Fraternity. And at the appropriate time in the initiation, I was able to answer a question by Brother Love. The question was, Brother McKee, will you pen me with this pen? The pen he spoke of was his father's pen, Founder Love's pen. It was a privilege to pen Brother John Love with his father's pen. Brothers, I'm humbled and honored to stand in for Brother Edgar Amos Love for this Founders Day program. It is my heartfelt congratulations to each of you in our celebration of our 110th anniversary. Brother Adam McKee at Howard University.
Good evening, Brother Grand Basilis Marion and my Omega brothers. I extend my congratulations to each of you on our 110th Omega anniversary. My name is Brother Floyd Wesley Robinson, and I was initiated in Alpha Chapter in 1948, located at Howard University in Washington, D.C. I have been a proud Omega man for 73 years. I'm currently in Alpha Omega Chapter located in the 3rd District. Since becoming an Omega man, I have served on many committees at the chapter level, including most recently on the Alpha Omega Chapter Memorials and Amenities Committee. My most memorable Omega experience was when I crossed the burning sands, and because I'm a member of this great fraternity, I also had the great honor of singing with the Omega Q Chorus, led by Vernon Smith. But my most significant Omega experience was sponsoring my 2 sons in 2011 as they became Omega men. Brothers Mark Wesley Robinson, 2311 Alpha Omega, and Brother Lynn Howerton Robinson, 1011 Alpha Omega. Both are working hard for Omega in leadership roles in the chapter. It is my honor to stand in for founder and faculty advisor, Ernest E. Just.
I'm Chesley McNeil, and this is your Omega Minute. In 1961, during the time when many black people in America were at the peak of fighting for civil rights, the Brothers of Pi chapter of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity wanted to do something big on the campus of Morgan State College, a predominantly black school in Baltimore, Maryland.
It was a really hot climate because of the era that we were in. We were in the civil rights era. So as a result of that, we felt the heat, if you will, of the civil rights movement. So we were very aware of what was going on.
The atmosphere on the campus was one where the students were ready. We were ready to have some action.
Wanting to make a huge mark, the Brothers of Pi chapter looked past the civil rights leaders of that time. The likes of Roy Wilkins, James Farmer, and Whitney Young wasn't big enough. Even the name Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. didn't resonate with what the brothers wanted to accomplish.
The Brothers of Pi chapter, we weren't the laid-back type brothers. We wanted to, anything that we did was beyond the ordinary. It would have been ordinary to have Dr. Martin Luther King or some of the others, but to have Malcolm X was special.
Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet?
We want you to come to the school to talk, to talk. And because we had all heard them, we had heard all this stuff. But these things he put out, all these different speeches that he made. I heard him out there on the corner. And so we knew what he was going to talk about. We knew it. We seen him on TV. We done everything. We knew about him. It wasn't a strange thing. The strange thing was hoping that he would come.
It wasn't a popular decision. The young people loved it. But the older Negroes, as we were called at that time, shied away from it.
Brothers Oliver Jackson and Sam McNeil, both from New York, decided to drive to Harlem, where Minister Malcolm X led Temple No. 7, and asked him personally would he come to Morgan State College, and he agreed. This was significant for the Brothers of Pi, as the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity, a Christian-based organization, 100% supported the nonviolence movement, seemingly opposite of Malcolm X and the Nation of Islam.
So Pi at the time, in 1962, was way ahead. They have a saying at Pi sets the pace, and that's exactly what they did when they brought Malcolm to Morgan.
It also helped that then college president Dr. Martin David Jenkins encouraged his students to be progressive.
At no point did I ever hear anything that, said, well, let's not do that. Let's do this. So we all seem to be of the same mind that, this has got to go on.
I remember him coming there because he was controversial, and we just wanted to have his message was resonating through Black America, through most colleges, and we wanted him there on campus because he was the thing, he was the man.
To pique the interest of the student body and the community, the Brothers of Pi thought it would be prudent to have a debate, segregation versus integration.
The entire student body was in favor of him coming anyway. It was a groundswell of support, whether for him coming to campus.
Up next, we'll meet the one professor at Morgan State College that the brothers thought would be perfect to go head-to-head with Malcolm X.
Well, gentlemen, you have your principles and motto. The design has been decided upon. It is time to seek worthy men. Remember, these times demand clean men of clear vision, of straight thinking, of unselfish doing.
Edward, Mr. Westmoreland.
Edgar.
You have always been a man whose reach exceeded your grasp. Your exceptional leadership and academic merit precedes you. Are you willing to cooperate in this youthful venture?
How goes it, Oscar?
Well, I believe. I talked with both Gilbert and Wimberly.
The meeting tonight shall find us with capable men, willing to help Omega on her way.
What of the dean's office in Purnell? Will we win Howard's faculty approval?
This will be difficult. I fear Purnell may be coerced by faculty domination. We must move on without him. There will be more opportunities.
Brothers, today we have come together to complete the fraternal constitution. We have toiled over each article for the last 2 weeks. It is important that we anticipate the possible reaction to each and select which will be a part of the final document.
We want to present our best to the University Council. The faculty should think it's an honor for Howard to be the first Negro institution of higher learning to have a national fraternity organized on its campus.
And what if we're still rebuked?
My brother, we must convince them. Believing that men of like attainment and the same ideas of fellowship, scholarship, and the highest levels of manhood should bind themselves in unity. In order to approach these ideas, we must band ourselves together under the name Omega Psi Phi.
The only excuse for existence, the only raison d'etre of any public institution, is the service it can render to all of society.
Our vote among us was unanimous to retain the provision that Omega Psi Phi Fraternity be national. There is no turning back.
We represent the future of the Negro race. If those above us cannot trust us with building this organization, then why would they trust us with tomorrow? The Faculty Recognition Committee must intensify our push.
I have news from the faculty. I hope to join you soon.
Thank you, my friend.
How you doing, sir?
I got up this morning.
That's right. And you're looking good.
Oh, I feel good.
You're an Omega legend, Omega icon. And I think today we're going to just take some time so everybody can get to know you a little bit.
I joined Omega in Albany State during the Civil Rights Movement. And I got to Albany State. Football team and the band came early because we had to practice before school started in registration. So I was the percussion section leader, and William Walker and Henry Duncan. They gave me a smoker's invitation. And they said to us when we came to the meeting, they said, we have been watching you guys on campus, and we need leaders. And we saw something in you, so that's why we wanted you to come to our smokers. And that's the beginning of my movement to become a lamp.
So that was 1966.
1966.
The legend was born.
The rest is history.
Talk about 66 to now, 2021. What are your thoughts about the growth and the change in Omega?
I like the change, and nobody knew what we went through in 66, but you got to like what you do and you know you will have changes. But I've been a very active individual ever since I joined the fraternity. And the one thing I have to say, and I tell the guys, as long as I've been stepping, I have never failed to pay my due. This is very important. When I come to the meetings, the district meetings, and the conclave, I come to get my full course meal. I work. Then I have my desserts. I step. And that's why I tell all the brothers, the young brothers, pay your dues. Because when I pledged, and I went to my first meeting, I had a chance to step in front of the fathers. And Bishop Floyd came over to me and he gave me this. And I still have it. And this is what it's all about. Respect for the fraternity.
You said that you stepped in front of the founders.
Yeah, we took a group picture. I had a big chef hat. It was gold. I brought it from the hotel. And after we took the group picture, I didn't know nothing to do. I didn't know anybody. I just started doing some of the old hop. And I did the hop. And Bishop Love and Cooper, they looked at me. Who is he? Several years later, I got to know Chico. Chico and I just started working. We didn't know what we were doing. We were just doing things for the brothers, taking care of all of the brothers at all of the meetings. And I'm going to miss Chico. He's going to be well missed. But every time I do something, I'm going to think about Chico on my side. He's on my left and right hand side.
Give a message to the young brothers in Omega right now. What would be your message or word of advice to them?
I would like to see them do more volunteer work, do things in the community, go to church and let them know that this is what Omega is about. Taking care of the community, show much love, and just do active things in the community. Show respect for the fraternity. Help make the fraternity rise. It's nothing like that walk of Omega. Psi Phi Fraternity.
We all thank you. Definitely thank you.
Yes.
Brothers all across the world and America are applauding you 66 right now.
Yes, I appreciate that, but still they need to pay their dues.
Pay your dues.
I'm Chesley McNeil, and this is your Omega Minute. The Brothers of Pi chapter of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity were successful in getting one of the most polarizing figures of the 1960s to come to the campus of then Morgan State College. Public spokesman for the Nation of Islam, Minister Malcolm X. No small feat.
That's why I say we lit a spark. And the whole campus was ablaze, man, in terms of knowing that Malcolm was coming. And we were very excited about that.
The old city of Baltimore was excited. I think we had calculated that if the debate was scheduled for Murphy Auditorium. And I think we had calculated that if we get half the place filled up, it would be successful. We had a turn-away people. It was a turn-away crowd.
The brothers wanted it to be a debate, integration versus separation, and they knew the perfect person who would be up for the challenge.
We had teachers who looked like us, but we also had teachers like that didn't have much to think of us.
Dr. Myers was a history professor, and I was a student in his class. He had written several articles about blacks and black colleges, and so I viewed him as being one of those white professors who was an expert on blacks. He was eccentric.
Dr. Meyer was somewhat strange at times. And he would come in the classroom, sit on the desk, and change his shoes and socks in front of the class. And one day we were talking, and he made a statement that he knew more about the black people than we knew about ourselves because he had a background in African American history. That's what he said.
That fueled the spark for the debate. The event was held March 28, 1962 at the Carl Murphy Fine Arts Auditorium on the campus of Morgan College. The building held roughly 1,400 seats, and as Brother Abney mentioned, there was standing room only.
I remember Malcolm showing up late. I remember the audience being seated and the auditorium was packed. And Malcolm came in late. He came in through the back door with an entourage.
It didn't seem like a debate to me. It seemed like they had that. Malcolm made a speech. It seemed that, as I remember.
I remember one statement. I don't remember what it was, but it was something Dr. Meyer said, trying to get the upper hand. And the audience essentially booed him.
Although each of the brothers' reflection from the event differs, most of them will tell you that Malcolm X came out on top. But they also had a ton of respect for Dr. Myers for participating and says he made a lot of good points. It's a moment they say they will never forget, and no doubt, one of the greatest moments in Pi Chapter history.
So I think Malcolm brought us, and that even on the campus of Morgan, I think it brought light to the campus of Morgan to look at ourselves, not just as Negroes, but a part of an international community of people, and that we had a part in this whole process.
Malcolm X's appearance at Morgan State College would be his only one at an HBCU. Sadly, 3 years after this event, Malcolm was gunned down while speaking at a ballroom in Harlem, New York.
Good evening, brothers. My name is Christopher Norman, and I'm honored to serve as the International Achievement Week Chair for the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity.
And I'm Jonathan Matthews from the fraternity's History and Archives Committee. We're here from the historic Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, where civil rights leader Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was ordained and pastor from 1960 to 1968.
In 1956, Omega recognized Dr. King's efforts in advancing civil rights for African Americans by awarding him one of the fraternity's highest honors, Citizen of the Year, for organizing and leading the Montgomery bus boycott.
The Citizen of the Year award is an essential part of Achievement Week, Omega's first social action program, which was launched 100 years ago. The backdrop for the creation of Omega's signature program and its formation was spurred by a racial awakening and ignited by one man's words. 1920 marked a new beginning, a renaissance for African Americans. A newfound sense of racial and cultural pride began to galvanize, in part by the racism they faced and significant achievements being made. World War I provided over 370,000 African American men to fight for the United States against Germany and its allies. Spurred by the war, better job opportunities, and racial conditions, the Great Migration began among African Americans that would see over 10% of blacks relocate from the South to the North and West between 1916 and 1930. Jack Johnson was the boxing champion for half of the preceding decade, a feat never accomplished by a black man before. Marcus Garvey formed the Universal Negro Improvement Association, advocating for black unity, pride, and complete autonomy from whites, and achieving over 1 million members by 1921. At the same time, the growing and influential NAACP was established in 1909 to promote equal rights and eradicate caste or racial prejudice in the United States. This propelled a new Negro movement, which captured a new sense of racial pride, cultural self-expression, and economic independence.
This was the backdrop for Omega's 9th Grand Conclave that delegates entered when they arrived in Nashville during the day on Monday, December 27, 1920. The opening session, held that cold Monday evening at the Meharry Auditorium, launched what Oracle editor and director of publicity William Stewart Nelson called the most significant convention held in the history of the national chapter. This evening, the featured speaker was one of the fraternity's elected members, Dr. Carter G. Woodson. Dean at the West Virginia Collegiate Institute, Woodson was also a noted historian, writing The Education of the Negro before 1861, and was publisher of the periodical, The Journal of Negro History, through his organization, the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History. The theme of his message for the evening was Democracy and the Man Far Down. In summary of Woodson's address to the delegates at the 9th Grand Conclave in the Alpha Chapter's 1946 Achievement Week book, it notes that in his address, Dr. Woodson mentioned the Negro's neglect of his history and urged the college man to give less attention to social affairs and devote more of his time to the study and dissemination of facts of Negro life and history. Such knowledge, he maintained, would produce an increase in the number of competent Negro leaders and would inspire race pride in the masses as a whole. Woodson's words at the conclave struck a chord with the delegates to act. After the opening session, the topic of racial unity was addressed. The delegates served as a committee of one, working throughout the night on a solution. It was determined that according to the January 13, 1921 edition of the Atlanta Independent, that, quote, in the early spring, the fraternity would conduct a campaign to encourage the study of Negro literature and history in various high school, colleges, and homes across the land, or, in other words, to introduce the world to the Negro and, at the same time, introduce the Negro to himself. This would become Omega's first national program. A new position was created on the Supreme Council at the 9th Grand Conclave called Director of Publicity, which would also assume the Oracle magazine's responsibilities. This position was charged with the construction of the inaugural program for chapters to implement. The person delegates elected to this position was William Stewart Nelson. Nelson was a 1916 initiate into Omega through Alpha Chapter, former bossilist of the chapter, and recent cum laude graduate from Howard University. At the time of the 9th Grand Conclave, he was studying at Union Theological Seminary in New York and was a member of Epsilon Chapter. Nelson constructed a program that chapters could use and tailor to the specifics of their area, which would best achieve the program's goals. Named the Campaign for the Study of Negro Literature and History, the inaugural program was set to run from April 24th through the 30th, 1921. Nelson developed a pamphlet that was printed and distributed to the chapters for use during his programs on Black history. He guided chapters on activities that could be done during the week to achieve their goals. Nelson also produced a press kit, which was sent to various African American newspapers that presented facts on African American history.
The results of the inaugural campaign were a rousing success. Here in Atlanta, Ada Chapter held its public meeting right here at Big Bethel AME Church on Sunday afternoon, April 24th, 1921. Over 2,000 people attended to hear Dr. Charles Victor Roman, noted author, physician, Meharry Medical College professor, and elected member of the fraternity, give the principal speech. The result of Ada's and other chapters' campaign were, as 8th Grand Bossist H.H. Thomas put it, a howling success all over the country.
Brothers, my name is Brother Kenton Kelly, 219 Epsilon Lambda. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce to you our 2021 Lifetime Achievement Awardee, Brother James E. Clyburn. Brother Clyburn was first elected to the U.S. House of Representatives in 1992, where he served as co-president of his freshman class, going on to becoming the assistant Democratic leader and becoming majority whip from 2009 to 2011, where he took that post again in 2019. Brother Clyburn serves in South Carolina's 6th Congressional District, where he serves underserved communities. Brother Clyburn is one for all the American people. Brother Clyburn every day exemplifies our 4 cardinal principles: manhood, scholarship, perseverance, and uplift. It is my absolute pleasure to let you hear from our very own Brother James E. Clyburn.
I'm pleased to be a part of this Founders Day. As all of you know, the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity has been a tremendous part of my life for over 50 years, in fact, close to 60 years. Now, of course, that's been my membership. But when I was a kid growing up in Sumter, the people in my community that I looked up to, the principal and vice principal of my high school, my football coach, my band director, they were all Omegas. And so to me, being an Omega meant being an important person, being a leader. And our founders demonstrated that. We have in those 4 founders, not just the greatest scientists, not because I'm saying that, because others said. Ernest E. Was the Apollo of science. Ernest E. The faculty advisor for our, not just our first other 3 founders, but also for our first 3 grand basilisks. That is leadership. But as we celebrate Founders Day in 2021, I want to call to your attention the fact that it's time for Omega men to step up and demonstrate that leadership once again. We are at a very critical point in the overall development of this great nation. When we look at all of the men who have gone on before us, it is remarkable. I'm thinking today basically of William Hastie, who did not let the honor that was bestowed upon him keep him from demonstrating his lack of, let's just say, his displeasure with what was going on around him. And he resigned a position in protest of the unfairness that was taking place toward people of color all over this country. That is the kind of sacrifice some of us may have to make. We cannot be so safe or feel so safe that we do not do the things that are necessary to get us beyond this rough patch that we're currently in this country. I was looking at our history a little bit the other day, and I came away thinking that the decade, the most consequential decade of the existence of this great fraternity, was the decade of the 1940s. Charles Drew, as many of you know, along with Mercer Cook, wrote Omega Dea, as my memory serves, in 1940. I think it was 1941 that Charles Drew discovered or unlocked those secrets that led to the discovery of blood plasma. It was in the 1940s that William Hastie did what he did. And throughout the 1940s, when things were going really bad, the war, World War II, came to an end in the late 1940s, and we could not get the armed services integrated, and because the president. We had a president that a lot of people think was a great guy. He maybe, Franklin Roosevelt was a great president, but he did some things that did not allow the members of our fraternity and future members of our fraternity to participate in the recovery after the 1929 stock market. Let's take, for example, Social Security. When Social Security came online in the 1930s, it is purported to have lifted millions of seniors out of poverty. But Social Security exempted workers, farm workers, and domestic workers. They were not allowed to be covered by Social Security, and 60% of African Americans at that time were living in the South working as farm workers and domestic. So 6% of the black people in the country were not even allowed to participate in Social Security. And what's even worse, when Social Security came online, the retirement age was set at 65. Guess what life expectancy for blacks was at the time? 48. So you had a system that even the blacks who were allowed to participate, which was only 40%, they did not have a life expectancy of such that they would ever benefit from the Social Security that they were paying into. And that's why you hear me raising my voice so loud as today about the issues of whether or not we ought to expand Medicare that people get irrespective of their stations in life, or Medicaid that's there for low-income people. Because I do believe that if we had more people on Medicaid, they would have better health care and therefore might live longer. So these are the kinds of things we, men of Omega, are going to have to take special stock in. So as we celebrate this Founders Day in 2021, let us remember that it's great to recall the history. But then let us also remember those words of George Santayana when he said to us, if we fail to learn the lessons of history, we're bound to repeat them. Think about that. I've learned those lessons, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure we don't repeat them. So I don't want to see us pass legislation today that will allow this perpetuation of the kind of exemptions and the kind of being left out on the part of people of color, which is bound to happen if we are not careful. So this is a great Founders Day. I want to honor once again not just our founders, but in the month of November, as you know, that's when we have National Achievement Week. College E. Woodson, who sort of, we all call the father of Negro history, and the work that he did to get us to where we are today. Let us all look around ourselves and see what is it that I can do. How can I participate? How can I do something that is lasting, so that years from now people look back and say that they are blessed by our having lived. So congratulations on a great Founders Day. Good luck in National Achievement Week, and let us stay vigilant as we go forward. Thank you, brothers.
My brothers in Omega, happy Founders Day. The Supreme Basilisk of the universe has blessed and sustained us for another year and allowed us to continue to enhance the rich legacy and expand the foundation of our beloved fraternity. I reach out to you not only to extend best wishes on our 110th anniversary, but to thank you for rallying with us on matters that have developed over this year. Over the last year, the world has witnessed Omega men continue our mission of providing transformative change and leadership in the areas of health, social justice, and politics, while opening doors for countless others in the fields of entertainment and sports. Brothers like U.S. Representative James Clyburn, Attorney Benjamin Crump, and Derek Johnson continue to fight for our people from the ballot box to the courtroom. Brothers Steve Harvey, D.L. Hughley, and Ricky Smiley have created media platforms that reach millions of listeners on a daily basis. Brother Doctors Keith Boykin, Cedric Guyton, Jadan Phillips, and Wanzi Gardner save countless lives with their weekly COVID-19 information sessions for Omega men and their families throughout this pandemic by providing accurate information on COVID safety, vaccinations, and protocols. Thanks to the diligent work of our International Reclamation and Retention Committee, working in concert with IHQ with the motto, "Each one, bring one." For the first time in our 110 years, Omega exceeded 30,000 financial members. For those brothers reclaimed this past fiscal year, welcome home. Your membership will help Omega multiply its good work and our impact in the communities we serve. As we prepare to gather in person for district meetings and our grand conclave in 2022, you'll notice a more streamlined and efficient operation. IHQ is operating on another level. With the complete implementation of the IQ membership system, our communication to brothers is better, and brothers have more access than ever before to update their information in real time to ensure you have the latest information sent from IHQ. For the Charlotte Conclave, expect an agenda that values your time and allows you the freedom to enjoy fellowship with brothers and friends. With over 3,300 brothers already registered for the conclave, with 8 months to go, this is not only historic for our brotherhood, but it also proves that when Omega men are called, we answer. Now, more than ever, Omega men are needed to answer the charge, to improve our communities and be a leading voice for what is right in our world. For many brothers, this will be your first Founders Day observance. We say welcome to the greatest fraternity, and better yet, the greatest organization on the planet. To other brothers, this will be your first Founders Day observance without one of the giants we lost this past year. For those brothers now gone to Omega Chapter, we will never forget them, and we smile as we remember their enthusiasm for Omega. To honor them, I encourage each of you to reach out to our fallen brothers' family to remind them that Omega's love for them is just as strong as your love for our brother. On behalf of the Supreme Council of our beloved fraternity, to over 200,000 initiated Omega men in 750 chapters in 17 countries, I wish you a safe and joyous Founders Day. May all your celebrations be filled with joy and a renewed commitment to each of our cardinal principles in this new fraternal year.
Brothers, my name is John Howard, and I have the opportunity to work as the executive director of our beloved Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Happy 110 years of hard work and dedication to old Omega. I really hope you enjoyed this program. I hope you've been able to watch it from the safe confines of either your home or any other establishment. I hope you're on your couch, watching it with your family and loved ones. There's a lot of effort and a lot of hard work that went into making this a reality. I thank the brothers on the camera that blessed us. I thank the brothers behind the scenes that helped me make this moment a reality. Brothers like Quintus Bishop and Kenny Foster and Eric Denard and David Alford Andre Cabinets, Sean Bland, and Greg McCoy, and Robert Scott, Kier Pemberton, Darius Twyman, Todd Inman, and Brother Gary Clark. Thank you, brothers. I'm hopeful you enjoyed as much as I did. And I really hope that we get to face-to-face moments very soon. But until then, remember this. Omega Psi Phi Fraternity is not what's on you. It's what's in you. God bless you. God bless your families. God bless Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Brother Grant Richardson, with that being said, let us pray.
And now unto him who is able to keep us from falling and failing, to him be glory, dominion, and power, both now and forever. Amen.
What's good, Q's? Ready, Side K, Spring 2009, Solo Dog, 6D.
Through days of joy